The Veltara station floated in space like a giant metal flower. Its arms stretched out in every direction, each one filled with shops, homes, and businesses from across the galaxy. Kang Tae-young stood at the observation window of his ship, the Aegis Dawn, and watched the busy traffic of alien vessels coming and going. "First time here and you're already daydreaming," Park Ji-hai said as she walked up beside him. She was his co-pilot and the best engineer he knew. "We have cargo to deliver, remember?" Tae-young smiled, just admiring the view. "Earth doesn't have anything like this." "Nothing in human space does," added Choi Woo-jin, their medical officer. He carried a data pad and looked tired. "I've been reading about the station. Did you know over 300 different species live here?" Tae-young whistled. 300? And we're the new kids on the block. They docked their ship without problems. The station's automated systems guided them to a cargo bay, and within an hour they had unloaded their delivery of rare metals from Earth. The payment transferred to their account immediately. Humanity was still new to galactic trade, but Earth's metals were in high demand. "So what now?" Ji-hai asked, stretching her arms. "We don't have another job for 3 days. Now we explore," Tae-young said with a grin. "When else are we going to get a chance like this?" The main market district of Veltara was overwhelming. Aliens of every shape and size filled the wide corridors. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated, crawled, or moved in ways that made no sense. The air smelled strange, a mix of 1,000 different scents that Tae-young couldn't identify. Shops lined both sides of the corridor. They sold everything from glowing crystals to living pets that looked like floating jellyfish. Tae-young stopped at a stall selling what appeared to be clothing. But the merchant had 6 arms and the clothes seemed designed for species with very different body shapes. "Come on," Ji-hai said, pulling his sleeve. "Let's find the food district. I'm starving and I want to see what aliens eat." The food district was even more crowded than the main market. Cooking smells filled the air, some pleasant and some absolutely terrible. Woo-jin held his nose as they passed one stall that sold something that looked like rotting meat, but was apparently a delicacy for silicon-based life forms. They stopped at a stall run by a Velkari merchant. The alien looked like a tall, thin lizard with blue scales and 4 eyes. Behind him were dozens of strange fruits in various containers. Some glowed. Some seemed to move on their own. One looked like it was made of pure crystal. "Welcome, welcome," the merchant said in surprisingly good human language. "You are humans, yes? I have heard of your species. Very new to the galactic community." "That's us," Tae-young said. "What are you selling?" "Fruits from across the galaxy," the merchant said proudly. "Each one unique, each one delicious. For humans, I recommend the calva berry, sweet and mild, very safe for carbon-based digestive systems." Tae-young looked at the various fruits. Most looked safe enough, strange but edible. Then his eyes fell on one fruit in the corner. It sat inside a reinforced glass container with a warning symbol he didn't recognize. The fruit itself was orange and covered in small spikes. Even through the glass it seemed to shimmer. "What about that one?" Tae-young asked, pointing. The merchant's 4 eyes widened. "Ah, the krethva. That is not for you, human. That is very dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Tae-young moved closer to the container. Ji-hai and Woo-jin followed, curious. The merchant seemed nervous. "The krethva comes from the planet Kreshnor. It contains acids so strong they can melt titanium. Only a few species can eat it safely. The Kresh themselves, of course. The Torthan with their stone-like bodies. The Velkari, like myself, have special stomach linings. But for most species, touching it means death." "But some species can eat it?" Tae-young asked. "Yes, for those with strong resistance to acid. The taste is supposed to be extraordinary. Sour and sweet at the same time with a heat that builds slowly." The merchant looked wistful. "I have only tried it once. It was magnificent but painful." Tae-young studied the fruit. "How much? What?" The merchant looked shocked. No, human. You do not understand. This fruit will kill you. Your species is too new. I do not know if you can survive it." "But you said some species can eat it safely," Tae-young pointed out. "Species with known biological defenses," the merchant protested. "Your species has only been in space for what, 50 years? We know nothing about human biology. I cannot sell you this. The legal liability alone." "I'll sign whatever you need," Tae-young said. "Come on, I'm curious. What's the worst that can happen?" Ji-hai grabbed his arm. "Tae-young, maybe listen to the merchant. If this thing can melt titanium, then it'll be interesting," Tae-young finished. Look, we're here to learn about the galaxy, right? Can't do that by playing it safe. The merchant looked torn. Finally, he sighed. You must sign many forms, and you must promise not to sue me when you die. Deal, Tae-young said cheerfully. 20 minutes and 15 legal documents later, Tae-young carried the Krethva in its containment box back to their ship. Woo-jin had brought his full medical kit just in case. Ji-hai was already preparing the emergency medical bay. They had invited their new business contacts for dinner, 3 alien traders who wanted to establish regular routes with Earth. The aliens arrived just as Tae-young was setting the table in the ship's small galley. They were Velkari like the merchant, and they seemed friendly enough. The dinner started normally. Tae-young served human food, carefully chosen dishes that their research said were safe for Velkari digestion. The aliens tried everything politely, though they clearly found some items strange. On our world, we do not cook food with fire, one of the aliens explained. We use chemical treatments instead. Your cooking methods are very primitive but interesting. We humans like our food hot, Tae-young said with a smile. Speaking of interesting food, I picked up something today. He brought out the containment box with the Krethva. The 3 Velkari guests immediately backed away from the table. Is that a Krethva? One of them asked, their voice high with alarm. Sure is, Tae-young said. He carefully opened the container. The fruit smell hit him immediately. Sharp and acidic like vinegar mixed with citrus. The merchant said it was a delicacy. For species with acid resistance, another alien said quickly. Humans do not have such resistance. You must not eat that. Tae-young picked up the fruit with his bare hand. The aliens gasped. He could feel a slight tingling on his skin, like touching something very cold. Feels fine to me. Stop, Woo-jin said, reaching for his medical scanner. At least let me check, but Tae-young had already brought the fruit to his mouth. He bit down. The fruit was firm but gave way easily. Juice filled his mouth and he chewed slowly. The alien stood frozen in horror. Ji-hee had her hand over her mouth. The taste was intense. Sour at first, then sweet, then building to a burning sensation that reminded him of eating hot peppers back on Earth. He swallowed. Interesting, he said after a moment. It's got a kick to it. Kind of like kimchi mixed with pineapple. You are alive, one of the Velkari said in disbelief. Why wouldn't I be? Tae-young took another bite. The burning was stronger now, but not unbearable. It actually reminded him of the spicy tteokbokki his mother used to make. Does anyone have salt, though? It's a bit bland. The 3 aliens looked at each other. Then moving as one, they ran out of the galley. Tae-young could hear them speaking rapidly in their own language as they left the ship. Ji-hai stared at him. Tae-young, do you realize what you just did? Tried an alien fruit? You ate something that melts titanium, Woo-jin said, scanning him frantically with his medical device. Your vital signs are normal. Elevated heart rate, but that could be from the excitement. How do you feel? Fine, my mouth tingles a bit. Tae-young finished the fruit. Actually, that was pretty good. I'd eat it again. Within an hour, the news had spread across the entire station. Humans, the new species, could eat Krethva fruit without dying. Not only that, they thought it was bland. Tae-young's casual snack had just changed humanity's reputation in the galaxy forever. The next morning, Tae-young woke up to find 50 messages waiting on his communication device. Half were from news outlets wanting interviews. The other half were from scientists demanding to study him. He deleted most of them and went to find coffee. Ji-hai was already in the galley, watching something on her datapad. She looked up when he entered. You're famous. Or infamous. Hard to tell which. What are you watching? Tae-young asked, pouring himself a cup. Station security footage of you eating that fruit. Someone leaked it and now it's the most watched video on the galactic net. She turned the pad around. They've watched it 40 million times in the last 8 hours. Tae-young watched himself bite into the Krethva. In the video, the alien's panic was obvious. I don't look that scary, do I? To them? Apparently, yes. Ji-hee sipped her own coffee. The Galactic Council has requested your presence. Well, demanded is more accurate. What do they want? To figure out if you're a threat, probably, Woo-jin said, entering the galley. He looked like he hadn't slept. I've been reading the messages from xenobiologists all night. Do you know what humans did, Tae-young? We just broke every assumption the galaxy had about biological limits. A formal summons arrived an hour later. The Galactic Council's Xenobiology Research Facility, wanted to conduct a full examination of human biology. They offered payment and promised the tests would not hurt. Tae-young agreed, mostly because he was curious about what they would find. The research facility was in the central hub of the station, a massive building of white metal and glass. Dr. Yoon Hae-won met them at the entrance. She was a human biologist who had been working in space for 2 years, one of Earth's early scientific ambassadors. "I knew one of our people would do something crazy eventually," she said, shaking Tae-young's hand. "I just didn't expect it to be this crazy." "Is it really such a big deal?" Tae-young asked. "You ate something that dissolves metal," Hae-won said flatly. "Yes, it's a big deal. Come on, they're waiting." The examination room was full of aliens. Tae-young recognized a few species from the station, but most were completely new to him. They all stared as he entered. Some looked frightened. Others looked excited. A tall alien with gray skin and too many fingers stepped forward. "I am Dr. Venthal, head of xenobiology for this sector." "You are Kang Tae-young, the human who consumed krethva fruit?" "That's me," Tae-young said, "remarkable. We have analyzed the footage extensively. By all our models, you should be dead. Yet here you stand, apparently healthy." Dr. Venthal gestured to a medical bed. "Please sit." "We have many questions." The tests were strange but not painful. They scanned him with devices that hummed and glowed. They took samples of his blood, saliva, and hair. They asked him to eat various foods while they monitored his reactions. Through it all, Dr. Hae-won stayed nearby, translating the more complex scientific terms. "Your stomach acid," Dr. Venthal said, studying a display, "is approximately 1,000 times stronger than the galactic average." "This is extraordinary. Is that bad?" Tae-young asked. "Not bad, just unusual. Most species evolved on stable worlds with limited microbial threats. Their digestive systems are efficient but not aggressive." Dr. Venthal made a note on his device. "Humans, it seems, evolved to fight their food at the molecular level." Another scientist, a floating blob of blue gel, spoke through a translator. "We have reviewed your planet's data files. Earth is classified as a Type 7 death world. We have only 3 other species in the galaxy from such hostile environments." "Death world?" Ji-hai asked from where she stood watching. Dr. Hae-won nodded. "It's a scientific term. Worlds where the environment actively tries to kill you. High gravity, aggressive microbes, extreme weather, dangerous predators. Earth scores high in all categories." "I always thought Earth was pretty normal," Tae-young said. "That's because you evolved there," Hae-won explained. "To most species, Earth is a nightmare. Your bacteria alone could kill 90% of galactic life. Your plants produce toxins as defense mechanisms. Your animals are designed to hunt and kill. Even your weather is violent." Dr. Venthal pulled up an image on the large display screen. It showed a chart comparing various species. Humans were at the extreme end of almost every category. Your immune system is hyperactive by galactic standards. Your pain tolerance is abnormally high. Your ability to process toxins is unprecedented. "We just call that being human," Tae-young said with a shrug. "To the galaxy, it makes you something else entirely." Dr. Venthal seemed almost excited now. "Tell me, what do humans eat regularly on Earth?" Tae-young thought about it. "Rice, vegetables, meat, fish. Kimchi, which is fermented cabbage. Gochugaru, which is red pepper flakes. Coffee in the morning. Sometimes soju with dinner." The room went quiet. Dr. Venthal looked at his fellow scientists.
Fermented foods.
"Capsaicin compounds, caffeine, ethanol. All of these are classified as toxins or corrosive agents by our standards. You're saying our normal food would poison most aliens?" Ji-hai asked. "Not just poison," the blue gel scientist said. "Capsaicin activates pain receptors. It is literally a chemical weapon that plants evolved to prevent being eaten. Yet humans cultivated these plants specifically to add them to food." "They make food taste good," Tae-young protested. "They make food painful," Dr. Venthal corrected. "But humans find pain enjoyable in small doses." This is psychologically fascinating. The test continued for hours. They discovered that humans could tolerate temperature ranges that would kill most species. Their bone density was higher than average. Their muscle fibers were denser. Even human senses were optimized for a hostile world, designed to spot threats quickly. "Your species is built for survival," Dr. Venthal concluded. "Every aspect of your biology reflects a constant struggle against your environment. You are not just resistant to danger, you are adapted to seek it out and overcome it." "That sounds dramatic," Tae-young said. "We're just people trying to get by." That attitude may be the most remarkable thing of all, Dr. Haywan said quietly. You don't see yourselves as special. This is normal to you. As the day ended, word of the test results spread across the station. Tae-young received more messages, but these were different. Companies offering jobs, research institutes offering partnerships, and more than a few messages from species saying humans should be quarantined for everyone's safety. That evening, Tae-young, Ji-hee, and Woo-jin sat in their ship's galley, eating dinner and reading through the flood of communications. One message stood out. It was from the Teshkar Mining Consortium, one of the largest corporations in the galaxy. Ji-hee read it aloud. They want to hire us. Not just us, but humans in general. They have mining operations on hostile worlds that are too dangerous for normal workers. They think humans could work there safely. How hostile? Woo-jin asked. Class 9 environment, Ji-hee said, her eyes widening. That's worse than Earth. These are planets where the atmosphere itself is toxic to most life. And they think we can handle it? Tae-young asked. After today, can you blame them? Ji-hee set down her datapad. We proved humans can survive things that kill other species. Now everyone wants to use that. Tae-young thought about the krethva fruit. He had eaten it without thinking, just curious about the taste. Now that simple action had revealed something about humanity, that the galaxy found both fascinating and terrifying. They were survivors from a world that never stopped trying to kill them. What do you think? He asked his crew. Should we take the job? Woo-jin looked uncertain. It could be dangerous. Everything in space is dangerous, Ji-hee said. At least this way we get paid for it. Tae-young made his decision. Let's do it. If humans are built for survival, we might as well use that to our advantage. Besides, I'm curious to see what a world worse than Earth looks like. He sent a reply to the Teshkar Mining Consortium accepting their offer. Within minutes, he received coordinates for a planet called Zerath 7 and instructions to meet their representatives there in 1 week. Dr. Haywan called that night with a warning. I heard you took the mining job. Be careful, Tae-young. The galaxy is watching humans now. Everything you do reflects on our entire species. No pressure then, Tae-young joked. I'm serious. Some species are excited about humans. Others are scared. A few think you're dangerous and should be controlled. Her voice was tired. That fruit you ate started something. Where it ends, nobody knows. After the call ended, Tae-young stood at the observation window again looking at the stars. Somewhere out there was Zerath 7, a planet so hostile that even Death World-adapted humans might struggle. But he wasn't scared. He was curious. That was the human way, he realized. When faced with danger, they didn't run. They wondered what it tasted like. Zerath 7 looked like a nightmare from orbit. The planet's surface was orange and red, covered in clouds that swirled with violent storms. Lightning flashed constantly across the atmosphere. Even from space, Tae-young could see massive volcanoes pumping dark smoke into the sky. Readings show surface temperature averaging 60 degrees Celsius, Ji-hee reported from the pilot seat. Atmosphere is 30% sulfur dioxide. Wind speeds reach 200 kilometers per hour regularly, and the rain is mildly acidic. Mildly acidic, Woo-jin repeated. That's comforting. The Teshkar representatives had met them in orbit. They were insect-like aliens with hard shells and multiple arms. Their leader, whose name Tae-young couldn't pronounce, explained the mission through a translator device. The Vornite crystals formed deep in the planet's volcanic regions, very valuable for quantum computing. We need samples, but our workers cannot survive long enough to collect them. Their protective suits fail within hours. We hope humans can last longer. What's our support? Tae-young asked. 3 of our scientists will accompany you. They will stay in armored suits and observe from a distance. You will have communication equipment and emergency extraction if needed. The Teshkar handed over a datapad. The coordinates are here. Good luck, human. They also brought someone unexpected. Han Sang-woo was a human security officer who had been working on a distant mining station. He was quiet, serious, and built like a wall. Tae-young hired him on the spot when he learned Sang-woo had military training. Are you sure about this? Sang-woo asked as they prepared to land. This planet could kill us. So could Earth, Tae-young replied. We just grew up dealing with it. The landing was rough. The Aegis Dawn shook as they entered the atmosphere, buffeted by strong winds. Ji-hee piloted expertly, bringing them down in a rocky valley between 2 volcanic mountains. Even inside the ship, they could hear the wind screaming outside. The three Teshkar scientists emerged from their shuttle wearing massive armored suits that made them look like walking tanks. Tae-young and his crew wore lighter gear, reinforced clothing treated to resist acid and heat, with breathing masks to filter the toxic air. "You are not wearing full environmental suits?" one of the Teshkar asked, sounding shocked. "These should be enough," Woojin said, checking his scanner. "The environment is hostile but not immediately lethal to us. We've tested similar conditions in Earth's volcanic regions." The Teshkar exchanged glances but said nothing. They clearly thought the humans were insane. The expedition set out at dawn, though dawn on Zerath 7 was just a slightly less dark shade of orange. The landscape was barren rock and hardened lava flows. Geysers of hot steam erupted randomly from cracks in the ground. The wind was strong enough to make walking difficult, and the temperature was like standing too close to a fire. "This is worse than Korea in summer," Ji-hee muttered, wiping sweat from her face. "At least there are no mosquitoes," Tae-young said, making her laugh despite the situation. They hiked for 3 hours toward the coordinates. The Teshkar scientists followed in their armored suits, moving slowly and carefully. The humans adapted quickly, learning which rocks were stable and which fumaroles to avoid. Sang-woo took point, his military training evident in how he scanned for danger. Around midday, they stopped to rest. Woojin passed around water and nutrition bars. The Teshkar watched in amazement as the humans simply sat on hot rocks and ate lunch like they were on a picnic. "You are comfortable?" one of the scientists asked. "Not really," Tae-young admitted, "but we can manage." "How are you doing?" "Our suit cooling systems are at maximum capacity. We have perhaps 6 more hours before we must return to the shuttle." The scientist paused. "You truly evolved on a planet like this?" "Earth isn't quite this bad," Ji-hee said. "But we have deserts almost this hot and volcanoes just as active. Humans have lived near both for thousands of years." "Remarkable," the scientist said quietly. The afternoon brought new challenges. They entered a region of active lava flows, rivers of molten rock that cut across their path. The heat was intense even through their protective clothing. The Teshkar had to stay far back, their suits unable to handle the extreme temperature. Sang-woo found a safe crossing point where the lava had partially cooled and formed a crust. "We need to move fast. That crust won't hold long." They ran across one by one. Tae-young went last, feeling the heat through his boots as the crust cracked beneath him. He made it across just as the section behind him broke apart and fresh lava welled up. "That was exciting," he said, breathing hard. Past the lava fields, they found what they were looking for, a cave system carved into the volcanic rock. According to the scans, this was where the vornite crystals formed. The entrance was large enough to walk through but uncomfortably warm. "We're detecting high levels of sulfuric gas inside," Woojin warned. "Make sure your masks are secure." They entered the cave with portable lights. The walls glowed faintly with heat. Strange mineral formations hung from the ceiling like icicles, but these were formed from solidified volcanic glass. Deeper in the cave, they found pools of bubbling acid, remnants of ancient lava tubes. And then they found the crystals. Vornite grew in clusters on the cave walls, each crystal about the size of a human hand. They glowed with a soft blue light, beautiful against the dark rock. Tae-young reached out and carefully broke one free. It was warm to the touch and surprisingly light. "These are perfect," one of the Teshkar scientists said over the radio. "We have remained outside. The environment is too dangerous even for our suits." "How are you managing?" "It's hot and the air smells terrible," Tae-young said honestly, "but we're fine." They spent an hour carefully collecting crystals, filling the containers they had brought. Ji-hee discovered that the best specimens grew near the acid pools, where the heat and chemicals were most intense. Sang-woo maintained watch, making sure no unexpected dangers appeared. On their way out of the cave, disaster struck. A section of ceiling collapsed, triggered by a small earthquake. Sang-woo shoved one of the Teshkar scientists out of the way, taking the impact himself. Rocks crashed down on his back and legs. "Sang-woo!" Tae-young rushed over along with Woojin. They pulled the rocks off him. His protective suit was torn and his leg was bleeding. But Sang-woo was conscious and alert. "I'm okay. Is the scientist safe?" The Teshkar scientist was indeed safe, staring at Sang-woo in shock. "You saved me. Why?" "That's what humans do," Sang-woo said through gritted teeth. "We look out for each other." Woojin treated the wound with their medical supplies. It wasn't life-threatening, but Sang-woo couldn't walk properly. They fashioned a makeshift stretcher from their equipment and took turns carrying him back to the landing site. The return journey was harder. The wind had picked up and a storm was brewing. Acidic rain began to fall, light at first but growing heavier. The Teshkar scientists retreated to their shuttle, unable to continue in the conditions. But the humans pushed forward, protecting their injured teammate. "This rain burns," Jihai said, wiping her face. The skin was red but not seriously damaged. "Like getting splashed with lemon juice," Tae-young agreed. "Keep moving." They made it back to the Aegis Dawn just as the storm hit full force. Inside the ship, they stripped off their damaged protective gear and collapsed in exhaustion. Wu Jin properly treated Sang-woo's leg while Jihai checked the integrity of their ship. That evening, the Teshkar leader contacted them. "We have analyzed the crystals you retrieved. They are high quality, exactly what we needed. You have succeeded where our best teams failed." "We were lucky," Tae-young said. "No, you are human." "There is a difference," the Teshkar paused. "We have also reviewed the incident in the cave. Your soldier saved one of our scientists at risk to himself. This is not standard behavior in galactic contracts. We don't leave people behind," Sang-woo said from where he lay on the medical bed. "Not humans, not aliens, not anyone." The Teshkar was quiet for a moment. "We were afraid of your species. After seeing what you did with that fruit, many of us thought humans were dangerous and unpredictable. But now I understand. You are not dangerous. You are brave. There is a significant difference." After the call ended, Tae-young went to check on Sang-woo. "How's the leg?" "It'll heal. Worth it to save a life." Sang-woo smiled slightly. "Think that alien understood what we showed them today?" "I think so," Tae-young said. "We didn't just prove humans can survive hostile environments. We proved we can do it while staying human. That matters more than any crystal," Ji-hee called from the cockpit. "Hey, you two. I've been going through the cave system data. We found something else besides the crystals." They gathered around her screen. The scanner had picked up artificial structures deeper in the cave system, hidden beneath layers of rock. "Ruins of some kind, very old. Someone lived here once," Ji-hee said quietly. "On this nightmare planet, some species built a civilization. And then they died out. Why?" Tae-young asked. "According to geological data, the planet wasn't always this hostile. It got worse over time. The species that lived here couldn't adapt fast enough." She looked at her friends. "But humans could have. Earth taught us how to survive when everything is trying to kill us. That's our real advantage." As they left Zerath 7 behind, Tae-young looked back at the angry orange planet. They had faced its dangers and won. More importantly, they had shown the galaxy what humanity really meant. Not just survival, but survival with compass. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous. The circular room could hold thousands of beings, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Representatives from hundreds of species filled those seats, each one watching as Ambassador Lee Bora walked to the center. She was humanity's voice to the galaxy, a diplomat who had spent years learning alien customs and languages. But today she felt the weight of her entire species on her shoulders. Today, the Council would decide humanity's future. "The session is called to order," announced the Council speaker, a floating crystal being that communicated through light patterns. "We gather to discuss the matter of humanity and their place in galactic civilization." Bora stood calmly, though her heart raced. Behind her, displayed on massive screens, were videos and data about humans. The Krethva incident, the Zerath 7 expedition, dozens of other examples of human behavior that had shocked the galaxy in recent months. The first to speak was Representative Kelvara, a tall, insect-like being from a high-gravity world. "Humans have demonstrated extraordinary physical resilience. This makes them valuable. I propose we offer humanity full partnership status with immediate access to Class 7 exploration rights. We need species who can work in hostile environments." "I disagree," said Representative Thalmor, whose species looked like walking plants. "Humans are dangerous. They consume poisons for pleasure. They thrive in conditions that kill others. They should be restricted to their own system until we understand them better." "Restricted?" another voice called out. "They saved 3 of our mining stations last month when containment systems failed. Human workers stayed in toxic environments long enough to repair the damage. Without them, hundreds would have died." "That proves my point," Thalmor argued. "They are too different, too resilient. What if they decide to use that strength against us?" The debate continued. Bora listened to species argue about humanity, as if humans were dangerous animals instead of people. Some praised human abilities. Others feared them. A few seemed to want humanity as allies but were unsure how to approach such strange beings. Finally, the speaker's light pulsed. "Ambassador Lee Bora, you may address the council." Bora stepped forward. She had prepared a speech, formal and diplomatic. But looking at the gathered aliens, many of whom had never met a human before, she decided to try something different. "I have heard your concerns," she began. "You are right to be cautious. Humans are different. We come from a world that most of you would consider unlivable, but I want you to understand something important about my species." She pulled up an image of Earth on the screens. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from space. "This is our home." It looks beautiful, and it is, but it is also a world that constantly challenges us. Earthquakes that destroy cities, storms that tear apart coastlines, diseases that kill millions. For our entire history, Earth has tested us. The council chamber was silent now, all eyes on her. We did not develop our resilience because we are warriors. We developed it because we had to survive. Every human adaptation you find strange or frightening exists because somewhere in our history, our ancestors needed it to stay alive. Bora's voice was steady. "Yes, we eat things you consider poison. That's because we learned to turn poison into food. Yes, we thrive in hostile conditions. That's because we had no choice but to adapt." She changed the image to show human cities, farms, and families. But our struggle taught us more than just survival. It taught us to work together, to help each other, to share what we have. When Sang-Woo saved that Teshikar scientist on Zerath 7, he was not thinking about contracts or species differences. He was thinking about saving a life. "That is what humans do." Representative Thalmor spoke up. "Beautiful words, Ambassador. But how do we know humans will not use their abilities for conquest? History shows that strong species often dominate weaker ones." Bora nodded. "You're right that history shows this pattern. But let me share something else about humanity." She pulled up data on human culture. We have over 7,000 languages on our world, thousands of distinct cultures, different religions, philosophies, and ways of life. We learned long ago that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. Earth itself taught us this lesson, she continued. Different regions of our planet require different adaptations. Humans in cold areas developed different skills than humans in hot areas. We could have fought over these differences. Sometimes we did, but we also learned to trade, to share knowledge, to help each other survive. She looked directly at Thalmor. "You fear humans because we are strong. But strength without wisdom is just violence. Earth forced us to become strong, yes, but it also forced us to become wise. We learned that the best way to survive is together." Another representative stood, this one from a water-dwelling species. "How can we trust this? How do we know humans mean what they say?" "Watch what we do, not just what we say," Bora replied. "Human workers have been in space for 3 years now. How many conflicts have we started? None. How many times have we helped others in emergencies? Dozens. We are not asking you to trust us blindly. We are asking you to judge us by our actions." Dr. Yoon Hai-won joined Bora on the platform, having been invited as an expert witness. "I have studied both human and alien biology," Hai-won said. "Ambassador Lee is right. Humans evolved under pressure, but that pressure shaped more than just our bodies. It shaped our psychology, our philosophy, our art." She pulled up images of human artwork, music, and literature. "Look at our stories. The heroes are always those who endure, who sacrifice for others, who find beauty and struggle. We write poetry about rain that your species considers dangerous. We make music inspired by storms that destroy our homes. We paint pictures of mountains that kill climbers who try to reach their peaks. Why do you do this?" A small furry alien asked. "Why celebrate danger?" "Because we learned that challenges make us grow," Haewon explained. "Pain teaches us empathy. Difficulty teaches us creativity. Danger teaches us to value what we have. Our art reflects this understanding. We do not celebrate danger for its own sake. We celebrate the growth that comes from overcoming it." Bora added, "This is what we offer the galaxy. Not just strong workers for hostile environments. We offer a perspective shaped by adversity. We can help solve problems that seem impossible to others because we are used to facing the impossible." A debate followed, less heated than before. Representatives asked questions about human history, culture, and intentions. Bora answered each one honestly, not hiding Earth's violent past but explaining how humanity had learned from it. Finally, Representative Kelvara stood again. I propose a test. Not of human strength, which we have seen. A test of human character. What kind of test? The speaker asked. Let humans prove they are more than just survivors. Let them show they are civilized. Kelvara looked at Bora. Ambassador, I challenge you to share a meal with this council. Human food prepared in human ways. Let us taste what you eat and understand what it means to be human. Bora smiled. This was unexpected but perfect. I accept your challenge. 2 days later, the council chamber was transformed. Tables were set up in the center, and food preparation equipment was brought in. Bora had called in help from Earth, including traditional cooks and cultural experts. They would prepare a meal that represented humanity. The council members gathered, some nervous, others curious. Bora stood before them. In human culture, sharing a meal is sacred. It means trust and friendship. Today, we share our food with you, and we hope you will understand us better. The meal began with simple foods, rice which most species could eat safely, vegetables prepared in various ways, fish and mild meats. The aliens tried everything carefully and most found the food acceptable if strange. Then came the challenging dishes. Kimchi, fermented and spicy. The aliens gasped at the strong smell, but a few brave ones tried it. Their reactions ranged from shock to surprising delight. It burns, but in a pleasant way, one alien admitted. How strange. Bora explained each dish as it was served. This is gochujang, a fermented pepper paste. We use it to add flavor and heat to food. Yes, it contains chemicals that trigger pain receptors. But we learned to enjoy that sensation in small amounts. Coffee came next, and with it came amazement. You drink this stimulant daily? An alien asked. It would keep my species awake for a week. For humans, it just helps us wake up in the morning, Bora said with a laugh. Our metabolism processes it quickly. The meal continued with foods from different human cultures. Spicy curry from India, sour kimchi from Korea, bitter chocolate from South America. Each one represented a human population that had learned to make something special from their local environment. As the meal ended, Representative Thalmore, who had been the most skeptical, spoke quietly. I tasted the kimchi. It was painful but also complex. Sweet, sour, salty, and spicy all at once. I did not think food could be so complicated. That is humanity, Bora said. We take simple things and make them complex. We take challenges and make them meaningful. We take poison and make it delicious. Thalmore looked at his fellow council members. I was wrong to fear them. Huma. 6 months had passed since humanity gained full membership in the Galactic Council. The galaxy looked very different now, at least from Tae-Young's perspective. His small cargo ship had transformed into a larger vessel called the New Dawn, equipped for exploration and research. His crew had grown too, now including both humans and aliens who wanted to be part of what they were building. They called themselves the Frontier Corps, a cooperative effort between species to explore the galaxy's most dangerous places. The goal was not just to extract resources, but to learn, to document, and to prove that different species could work together despite their differences. Ji-Hai had become something of a celebrity in the process. Her video logs of their expeditions were watched by billions across the galaxy. Aliens were fascinated by watching humans treat deadly situations as interesting challenges. Humans enjoyed seeing their kind represented in space as more than just workers or soldiers. Another message from the media networks, Ji-Hai said, scrolling through her communication device. They want to interview me about the thermal vent incident. That was 3 weeks ago, Sang-Woo said from where he worked on maintenance. His leg had healed completely, and he had become the team's head of security. Don't they have newer stories? Apparently not. Humans swimming in near-boiling water to rescue stranded aliens is still trending. Ji-Hai smiled. I told them the water was only 40 degrees Celsius. We have hot springs on Earth hotter than that? Tae-Young looked up from his own work. Speaking of which, have you heard from Dr. Haewon lately? She sent an update yesterday, Woojin said. He had expanded his role from medical officer to chief scientist, working closely with alien researchers. The exchange program is going well. We have 30 alien scientists on Earth right now, studying in protective suits, and 50 human scientists are on various alien worlds learning their methods. How are the aliens handling Earth? Tae-Young asked, curious. They're terrified and fascinated in equal measure, Woojin said with a laugh. One Velkari scientist wrote a paper on Earth's microbial diversity. He called it beautiful horror. Another group has been studying human agriculture, trying to understand why we choose to eat plants that evolve defensive toxins. The communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. Tae-young accepted it, and Ambassador Bora's face appeared on the screen. She looked worried. Tae-young, I have an urgent situation. Are you and your crew available for an emergency mission? What kind of emergency? Tae-young asked, already moving to the command chair. There's a colony on Haven Fu, a joint settlement of 3 species. A disease outbreak started 2 days ago. The mortality rate is 90% for infected aliens. Their medical teams are overwhelmed and they have no cure. Bora's expression was grim. The symptoms suggest it might be similar to diseases Earth dealt with centuries ago. We think humans might be resistant enough to work in the contaminated zones long enough to help find a cure. How long do we have? Wu Jin asked, already pulling up medical data. Days at most. The colony has 6,000 inhabitants. Half are already infected. Bora looked directly at Tae-young. I know this is dangerous. I can't order you to go, but you're the closest ship with experienced Death World personnel. Tae-young looked at his crew. Ji-hai nodded immediately. Sang-woo was already checking weapons and protective equipment. Wu Jin was downloading every medical file he could access about the disease. We're going, Tae-young said. Send us the coordinates. The journey to Haven 4 took 8 hours at maximum speed. During that time, the crew prepared. Wu Jin studied the disease data with Dr. Hae-won, who joined them via communication link. The disease attacked respiratory systems, causing rapid deterioration in most species, but the symptoms reminded Hae-won of influenza variants that humans had dealt with for thousands of years. If I'm right, human immune systems might recognize parts of this pathogen, Hae-won explained. Not enough to make you completely immune, but enough to give you time to work. You'll need to be careful, though. Even if you're resistant, you can still carry the disease. They also received messages from their alien crew members. 2 Velkari engineers and a Teshkar navigator who had joined the Frontier Corps in recent months. All 3 volunteered to help despite the danger. You do not have to do this, Tae-young told them. This disease is lethal to your species. You saved my people on Zerath 7, the Teshkar said. Now we help save others. This is what the Frontier Corps means, yes? Tae-young felt pride swell in his chest. Yes, that's exactly what it means. Haven 4 was a beautiful world of blue oceans and green continents. The colony was built near the coast, a planned community meant to show that different species could live together peacefully. Now it was a scene of crisis. Medical ships orbited overhead, unable to do much except quarantine the sick. The New Dawn landed near the medical center. Tae-young and his team emerged wearing protective suits. Not heavy armor, but sealed clothing treated with antimicrobial agents. The alien crew members wore the heavier suits their species required. The colony's chief medical officer met them at the entrance. She was a Velkari named Dr. Linsa, and she looked exhausted. Thank you for coming. We have lost 800 people so far. The infected areas are too dangerous for our medical staff to work in for more than a few minutes at a time. Show us where you need us, Wu Jin said, carrying his medical equipment. The infected zone was in the colony's main residential district. Entire buildings had been sealed off with the sick isolated inside. Tae-young and his team entered the contaminated area while their alien teammates monitored from a safe distance, ready to provide whatever support they could. Inside, the situation was grim. Aliens of various species lay on makeshift beds, struggling to breathe. The air was thick with the smell of sickness. Medical supplies were scattered everywhere, used and abandoned by staff who had to flee before they became infected. This is bad, Ji-hai said quietly through her suit communication. Then let's make it better, Tae-young replied. They split into teams. Wu Jin and several human medical volunteers worked to stabilize the worst cases, using techniques and medicines brought from Earth. Sang-woo and security personnel organized the chaos, making sure supplies reached where they were needed. Ji-hai worked with the engineering team to improve the building's air filtration systems. Tae-young moved through the infected zone, helping where he could. He carried water to those who needed it, cleaned contaminated areas, and spoke to the frightened patients. Many had never seen a human before, but they quickly learned that these strange aliens were there to help. Hours turned into a full day of work. The humans showed no signs of infection, their immune systems handling the pathogen just as Dr. Hae-won had predicted. The alien crew members, safely in their suits, coordinated supply drops and communication with the orbiting medical ships. Wu Jin made a breakthrough near sunset. Working with Dr. Heiwan remotely, and using blood samples from recovered patients, he synthesized a treatment using a combination of human and alien medical technology. It was not a perfect cure, but it could reduce the mortality rate significantly. "We need to test it," Wu Jin said, holding up the first dose. "If this works, we can save most of the infected." They started with the most critical patients. Within hours, the treatment showed results. Breathing improved. Fever dropped. The disease was still deadly, but now it was survivable with proper care. As word spread, more medical teams arrived from across the sector. With the treatment protocol established by Wu Jin, they could now work safely. The colony began to recover. 3 days later, the crisis had passed. The colony had lost over 1,000 people, a tragedy, but 5,000 had survived thanks to the quick response and the cooperation between species. Dr. Linsa met with Tae Young before they departed. "You saved my colony. We had given up hope, but you came anyway." "That's what neighbors do," Tae Young said simply. "We look out for each other." "I was one of the voices who voted against human membership in the council," Dr. Linsa admitted. "I was afraid of your species. After that incident with the fruit, I thought humans were reckless and dangerous." She looked at the recovering colony around them. "I was wrong. You are not reckless. You are brave. And that bravery saved us." Back on the New Dawn, the crew gathered for a meal. They were exhausted but satisfied. Sang-woo had cooked, making a large pot of kimchi stew that filled the galley with its spicy aroma. "The aliens are asking for the recipe," Ji-hai said, reading messages on her datapad. "They want to try making human food." "They should be careful," Wu Jin warned with a smile. "Most species can't handle gochugaru." "Then we teach them to start with mild versions and build up," Tae Young suggested. "Same way we teach them everything else." A message came through from Ambassador Bora. She appeared on the screen, looking pleased. "I heard about Haven Fu. Excellent work, all of you. The Galactic Council is officially recognizing the Frontier Corps as an essential service. You will have funding, resources, and support for your missions." "We just helped some people in need," Tae Young said. "You did more than that. You proved what I told the Council 6 months ago. Humans are transformative. You take impossible situations and make them possible." Bora smiled. "And you taught other species to be brave alongside you."